I got to ask you, when you follow up with the huge success of the first movie, for you first of all, what was for you the biggest challenge in facing this monster?
I think that this is a movie answer. So it's for me the challenge is for doing a sequel was there's always the danger that you sort of they're very awkward sequels because you've sort of found your character and you've generally, if it's a happy ending, you've given them what they wanted, and Paddington had found his home, and we really wanted to find a story that was a film that could exist in its own right for a character who doesn't have normal movie flaws. He's incredibly kind and polite and good-natured, and he doesn't have a big issue to get over, and really the journey for us was about finding a story for Paddington where he could have a proper character arc, and we started thinking about these, because he's a good character, and we started thinking about the Frank Capra movies, especially the 1930s, the Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, Mr. Deeds Goes to Town, and It's a Wonderful Life, and they sort of have, often Jimmy Stewart playing a character who has these great values, and you sort of go, well, what's the journey there? And it's a sort of journey of wondering how those values will withstand the big city and cynicism in the real world. And so once we sort of found that journey for Paddington, we began to feel that we might have a movie that was a film in its own right.
Absolutely. And Simon, I assume the same question for you as the writer.
Yeah, I think
you guys have worked together obviously a lot and so forth, but still.
We have, yeah. We like to do things that are first and foremost funny and have a heart, and so we've worked together a lot before. And for me, I think it was finding, you always have those bits where you feel a sort of relief that you're going to get the laughs and you're going to get the comedic engines, like sending them into the community, as Paul said. We felt good about writing those community characters, and then prison was a big one because we looked at films like Stir Crazy, where these innocents go to prison, and there's quite a few examples of these, and we immediately went, this will be great fun. He goes in, how about Paddington complains to the chef about the food? And I think we had that idea really early on. We both made us laugh and thinking, we've never had a character in a film complain about prison food before. What if he goes, it's a bit salty and it's a bit gritty, and I think you could improve it with some, that to us.
I know, because he never, what's so lovely about Paddington is he never sees bad in anyone. So you can give him the most menacing look and he's just, no, just a second. Come down here, I think and absolutely oblivious because he doesn't believe anyone in the world has bad intentions, and that felt like a really funny environment to send him.
Yeah. And marmalade can solve every problem.
Of course. It's certainly in Paddington land.
Yeah, exactly. Well, one of the things I really loved about this was there's so many incredible visuals in this film, and the pop-up book. Talk a little bit about that, because that was a wonderful thing that carried through the whole, the entire movie.
It was a vast labour of love. I mean, it's one shot, and it took well over a year. I mean, it was a monstrous thing to do, and we started by building a pop-up book. We really loved the idea of that wonder of seeing a place and what this pop-up book means to Paddington, and emotionally that's what the sequence was doing, was going, this will show Aunt Lucy London, and it also plants this little seed where there's a really beautiful moment where he hugs Aunt Lucy in his imagination, and even though Paddington never vocalises it, you realise that what he really misses is his aunt. He wants a hug from another bear who understands what it is to be a bear. He wants to hug his mummy effectively, and so there's this sort of emotional heart to it, but there's also this huge technical kind of exercise, and so we built a pop-up book. We worked with this amazing paper engineer. We made it all real because we love that lo-fi quality. We then had this extraordinary artist who spent 6 months hand painting every single thing you see in there. Nothing's made in the computer. And then we got it into the computer, and it's like a dance between the pages of the book and Paddington and Aunt Lucy, and it was just a lot of head scratching over about 8 months, and then we were able to start building it.
Well, you created magic. It was totally magical, and I just absolutely love that. It's so unique. I mean, it's just incredible. You talked about the prison scenes. Talk a little bit about that. That was just so much fun and so hilarious on so many levels. But Brendan Gleeson, talk a little bit about him, because he's marvelous. Yeah.
He's such a joy, and he's such a brilliant. He's a brilliant actor, and we sort of all know that. But he's got such a great sense of humour as well. And I think his scenes were some of the hardest to do because they're against Paddington, who's not there, and it's what we started with. And it's really a kind of double act between them.
Yeah, it's sort of a buddy, it's a sort of romance.
Yeah, sort of bromance kind of thing. Yeah. And you don't know how it's going to until Paddington, no matter how much you have stand-ins and you work with Ben and I'm there and there's actors, until the animation starts to exist much later, it's really hard to gauge the level of performance. And Brendan was so pitch perfect. He's really funny, but there's so much heart and emotion to it, and he brought so much of that.
His reaction to the hard stare. The exam was quite late, the hard stare, when we went, he should give Knuckles a hard stare. And I think we were in rehearsals, and Brendan did this sort of, is it hot in here? Is it hot? I'm very hot. Are you hot? And I leave the oven on, and it was just the way he plays it.
That accent is
so
factually
great.
offensive.
It's factually how he sounds like.
Wow.
It's perfect. Which was perfect. And that thing at the end with the, I'm going to tell everyone, be sure you stay for the credits, because his number with the group at the end is worth the price of admission.
Good.
It's just brilliant.
That was the first thing he filmed, his first day.
His first day, 18 hours of singing and dancing.
Yeah.
I think he immediately regretted saying yes. He says no to everything, and then went, oh, what am I
He
signing
goes,
up for?
no, I know why I say no to everything.